where you're like, how do I proceed? It's like, I've kind of, every now and then on this project, I get into a state of deer in the headlights. I've just got so much to do. And every day I work on an item and I try to get a little further, a little bit more push. And then it's like, I'm not sure of the best way to proceed. You know, it kind of just, sometimes it just can be a little overwhelming. That's all I gotta say. You kind of have to figure out how to move forward without, without being frozen too long. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, right? You just don't want to be frozen too long in your state of unknowing. Now I kind of know what, so the current objective is, so here's my roadmap of the next 3 things I want to get done. Okay, so let's tell you what that is first. First, I need to come up with a player rating system. Based on their skills, how does each player rate within their position? Now, so there's a couple of things. So what I really need to do is probably just do, right? I mean, I got to put it down and say, okay, this is what needs to happen. And I know, I'm just, I don't think it's even that complicated what I'm trying to do. I just need to figure out the best way to go about doing it. Is really what it comes down to. And so if you've watched any of my yesterday session, I'm working on trying to get base salaries, okay? And I thought, well, my goal is to have like a set of players that sit at the top of the food chain, right? So if their ratings fall within this narrow window, they get to be elite. So they would get elite salaries. This is where the difference between a Patrick Mahomes and Joe QB, somebody who's not proven himself. He's at this. He's a low level guy. He's probably making a couple mil, maybe even close to minimum wage. And you got those guys, and then you have Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, and those guys at QB that are getting astronomical salaries. And the drop off is significant, right? So you're going to have your $60 million Dak Prescott and Patrick Mahomes, I think, is in the 50s or 40s or whatever. But you got a lot of guys in the middle there. And then you've got, and it's not even, they're not based on skill. The NFL does not rank people by their actual skill. They rank them based on their value to them as their team. How important are they to keep on your team? And greed. Players want more. They want to be paid more. Are they worth it? Probably not. Most of the time. How often is it that a true best in the league player is getting paid like the best in the league? If they had true player rankings for every position, and teams use those to determine salaries, then I could see salaries would be a little bit more interesting. They would be a little bit more based on reality. Now, but I still want my teams, my players, the players in the league per my system, to be given salaries of an elite level when they are truly elite. So this means that a player who was like super elite could be getting 57 million, and then I put a new version of that player in the next year and he's only 38 million because he didn't have as good a year. But still, you know, he could still be a good QB. He just may not be. So you're basically bringing in new players based on their actual performance. You're paying them according to that. However, things can get skewed. So in a franchise mode or league mode, players are still going to have this AI system that's going to determine how much they get paid throughout. But I'm going to use the skill ranking, skill salary system to determine what a player is worth or what a player might be valued at. And then you have to decide if you want to pay them more to keep them from going somewhere else, because players always want to get paid according to the other people at their level, right? So if they think that they are the best in the league and that Joe Blow got a big check, they want a big check, even if statistically that doesn't necessarily support that fact. So the end result is I have to look at all my player skills for each position. So I have my player pool now. Okay, so it's not fully defined because I don't have all skills written yet. But so I have, like, you know, the general skills. This guy's got a 9.5 injury fatigue. Now these are just the numbers that go into their ranking or their rating. So it's not really an effective logic for, I mean, like, this guy's got a hand skill of 41. Well, it still might scale out to where all this comes out the same. So for a tight end, what are their key skills? Probably hand skills, probably big, but maybe their blocking skill. I don't even know how do you rank. See, I am personally going to struggle big time in calculating how good a player is at blocking. Individual players, offensive tackles, left tackles. Like I have in my game, the way I define players is I define them by the entire offensive line. So when I did an offensive line breakdown, pass blocking, run blocking, and the salary that went along with it, this is the salary for the entire offensive line, which, by the way, is 3 to 5 players. And you could adjust it. In the board game, you could say, okay, I'm using in offense, you can't adjust it but you could adjust it in the sense that you were in the board game, you could put in what I call a star player. And a star player is one that is known for being good. They have a set number of stats that go with them. And then you would adjust your offensive line card to be like 3 players or 4 players. And then you'd have the star player who fits in to the offensive line and adds and enhances and changes up that value. But it also means that their salary is probably going to go up. But I can't do that in this game. In this game, I want all players are individual personalities. So I got this logic for pass blocking, but this is all built off of team stats. And I don't know who's got good stats for offensive linemen. I mean, who tracks that? What kind of stats are kept on offensive linemen to determine how they measures how often lineman sustains his block for 2.5 seconds or longer. Run block win rate. Tracks how often the lineman successfully wins his assignment in the run game. Example, Chicago Bears, Chiefs, and Commanders all posted 75. See, that's like the Bears, Chiefs, and Commanders all posted a 75% running back win rate. But that's team. That doesn't help. Percentage of pass plays where the lineman allows pressure. Often tied to team level stats, but can be isolated per player using film. See, and again, I don't have that. Sack rate, sack to pressure ratio. Measures how often pressure is allowed by linemen results in sacks. Helps distinguish between linemen who give up pressures versus those who give up drive-killing plays. Penalties. Tracks false starts. Holding in illegal formations. High penalty counts can indicate poor technique or discipline. Yards before contact. Used in run blocking to measure how much space the line creates before a defender touches the ball carrier. But again, that's team-based. Again, team-based. Stuff raised, team-based. I am trying to build player skill based on actual real life performance, but finding allow for player for each player. The initial stats trying to figure out if there's a good site. I don't know if PFF has a Pro Football Focus has a decent spot track. Let's go see if spot track has any stats for let's just go see who's got stuff. Let's go look at the Arizona Cardinals here. Let's see what let's see if they have any offensive line stuff. Cap contracts. Oh, this is not the best one. Let's see what this said. Give it a question. Let's go look at Sharp Football Analysis. Pass and run block rankings, win rate. See, that's not per player though. Getting that kind of rating is great, but I need it per player. What I may have to do is build a team rank and only the outliers get like special. It's like most offensive linemen are just whatever. they just get what they get because of the team they're on at the time of their stats. So like I build it up and I go, okay, well, like these guys, I have like this offensive line. I got run blocking and pass blocking and yards per pass block. What is this? I don't know what that is. Offensive long pass credit. Oh, well, long pass credit. What is a long pass credit? I don't know if that was meant to be. YPRB. I didn't put any notes down. Oh, wait, I did. This represents the amount of yards. Hoping there's more to this. Amount of yards gained by running back that is attributed to the work of the offensive line. How did I determine that nonsense? I'm like, that's great, but where did I get that logic? Alright, so I'm building it off of all this stats. So I may have to build information off of actual stats and then see if I can find key players Seattle Seahawks has, see, this calls out players, but it doesn't really give them any kind of rankings or grades. Huh. Stats views. It's occasionally rare rushing receiving stats. Limitations doesn't include blocking, pressures, pass blocking, efficiency, pressure, hits. Requires a paid subscription for full historical data. Huh. Let's go see what this looks like. I mean, even if it's just 2024, I can at least see what the logic is. See kind of what they're using. What I have as an option. Huh. See, that would be kind of good. It's not much. I may have to totally build it off of a single stat. that would kind of suck, but kind of, I might not have a choice. There may not be. Alexa, turn on desk lamp. There may not be an option that says, you know, I mean, because they already calculate some of this stuff. 4 other NFL offensive tackles record PFF pass blocking efficiency above 98, including Mitchell Schwartz, Taylor Lewin, Ryan Ramczyk, and Trent Brown. Recorded the lowest PFF pass blocking efficiency of any qualifier of his position, 93.4. He allowed 39 pressures across. Wow. Huh. So, can I look at this in a more laid out statistical? Huh. PFF. This is just like text. I don't like text stats. Huh. Now I know I have to pay, but I'm just wish I had this in a more, I don't know, grid base, something I could actually pull. This is just random crap. I don't. I laugh because it's, I don't know why I just laugh because it's kind of goofy. On every run play of a game, every offensive lineman on the field receives a plus/minus grade from 2 to 2.0. Any play where he's given a grade greater than 0 is charted as a positive graded run, block, snap, and vice versa. I don't know. I think it could be good. I may end up having to buy some stats on these guys. But in the meantime, let's see what that's Pro Football Focus, but doesn't seem to be that there's any. Yeah, but see, I could do that, even if it's top performers. In fact, I could see making, everybody kind of also rans and then just having the top performers get higher ratings. Just because, I mean, offensive line is offensive line. If you want a top performer, you'd have to, pay it. But I could see players will still be different because if they play on a team that had considered a great offensive line, those players will net higher average salaries. And then on the individual basis, the elites will get a little bit more. They'll be considered better. So when those players break up, they get to take with them their piece of the stats. Kind of like my stats here. If this is representing 5 players, the whole offensive line, this means the New Orleans Saints at this time would have a little bit of, they'd all be worth about, they'd all have a rating of around 5 or a salary of around 5 million, 5.2 million apiece. Now, if there's any one particular player that stands out in that group, I could see kind of doing this. And that just gets them into the game. After that, things could fluctuate quite a bit because I may have them pretty cheap or easy to get into the league based on my stats. But once the game gets to start affecting, which means I can track and have every player, the stats and their performance tracked in the game, their skills and stats will start to fluctuate. So some guys will get better and some guys might get worse, but either way they have a range now. It's like the lowest team here was a 17 at salary. So that one, those guys are all getting about 3.4 million a piece. So they would range from 3.4 to 5.2 million on my game. And I have to figure out realistic salaries because again, my game was based around people be doing math in their head. That's how it was. I designed it around people being able to do math in their head. So, you know, you just have whole numbers. This is a $26 million offensive line, 26. And all your other players are whole numbers that are usually less than 10. And you add them up and your salaries are based on that. And then I need to create a calculator. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to use the team stats, build the players, and then I might eventually start having elites or players that I dig out extra stats for and I tweak. But I don't think I need that right now. This is offensive line. There's enough variety that's going to put players kind of all in their own pool. Because I don't think all these guys, I mean, I have this range on a 17 to 26. But if I really scatter them out, I could probably get them all to be some kind of millions that are, there'll be 5. The thing is too, oh, here's a thing. Because what if you weren't a starter? Like you weren't on that team. You can't give all Seattle Seahawks $4 million. It has to be just those that were considered starters on the team. So I have to somehow. Phew, man. How do you do that? Gosh, that's going to be rough. I need to get these guys into the game. Whew, man. Based on team, but I gotta figure out who's the starter. I guess it's players who started every game, right? I mean, that's the best way to do it. Just go by games started, not games played, but games started. And then they get a percentage based on the game started, and it reduces. It can't be down to nothing though. We gotta have a base rating that says, okay, well, we're gonna give everybody on all the offensive line players on the team a value based on the original salaries, but only the tops are going to get that amount, but then everybody else gets a percentage based on how much they started in the game. So let's just say like the New Orleans Saints, all their offensive line is going to be higher paid than all the players, even the bench players are all going to be higher at the start. Because if you want them on your team, you start playing them, they're in your league, they may not prove to be that good. You don't know, because again, it's all going to be kind of relative. But the game's going to actually track stats, and players are going to adjust according to their stats. And I may have to do something that's a little bit more drastic, like have offensive linemen get more, maybe more immediate effects at the beginning. So this way they actually scatter, where you have good and bad and players that are all over the board in this. And I'm gonna have to do some definite what do you call it? Performance balancing. To make sure things like the best offensive linemen, the best defensive players have trouble getting past the best offensive line. Because even in the best case scenario, if you run 80 plays of offense and say of those 40 are passing, a player should rarely have more than 1 or 2 or 3 sacks. It could happen, but usually you're not playing against the best blockers, right? The best blockers are going to hold you back, keep you out. You might get 1 or 2 if you're great. Everybody else is going to get pretty mediocre shots. So you try to balance it in a way that the best offensive players can pretty much block out the best defensive players most of the time. So you might say have it run 5 games, best player against, like, so one of these $5 million guys against the best linebacker who sacked a lot of people and was really good at sacking. And make sure that he's not getting like a bajillion sacks a game. So you might run on an average of 40 plays a game, 40 to 50 plays on a tries. You might have it run maybe 1,000 times, and you don't want to see let's just say 800 times. That's what, 20 games, right? Because that'd be about 40 plays a game for 40 times. Well, 40 times 20 is only, it's 800. So you have about 20 games, 40 plays. You probably wouldn't want to see more than 6 or 7 sacks. Best offensive lineman versus the best defensive player. Yeah, the best defensive player might get more against the weaker teams, like throw them up against like the Detroit Lions down there at the bottom. There you might expect him to get a higher average. You know, maybe he's getting 1 a game or 2 a game, which means some games he's getting a lot, right? But he's having heydays with the Detroit Lions. So you want to kind of have that kind of a zone where against the worst teams, the best players do well. Against the best teams, the best players do well. Against the best teams, the best players do average. I mean, they're not doing great. You still want them to have the potential because they're good enough. But, I mean, yeah, things can still go wrong. Other players could get in. But, I mean, when a team is having a heyday against you, it's not always the same guy. If there's 6 or 7 sacks in a game and you have the great one guy running rampant, it's rare that the same guy gets all 6 sacks. It happens, but it's rare. I mean, it's a fluky thing. But you just run those balance checks to make sure that your numbers are coming up with the results you want. But yeah, let's go put in. I have to have some stats to calculate some more skills. So let's go ahead. Let's put together all right, let's go to my ClickUp. I haven't, what is today? Today is Tuesday. Boo. I'm gonna go create a sprint. I have to put down the things that I need to be working on. I need more skills. That's what it's got to come down to, skills, so that I can calculate ratings, and then the skills plus ratings means I can then create, after I do skills and ratings, I can do salary. So I need to do skills, ratings, salary. Then I need to go do a UI that puts all my players into a visual format so you can draft players. So I need to start coming up with that. So that'd be my next UI thing. Because I'm really thinking what I want to allow players to do to start is draft their first players. And that's kind of like your walkthrough. You know, you're saying, welcome to fantasy football. Let's build your team. And then it'll open up a draft page or draft board, and you can just pick. And then the little draft will go through. There will be just so many players. I was thinking about doing like an 8-man draft, an 8-team draft, just for the warm-up season. And it'll only be like 8 games long. You just kind of practice. It'll be the tutorial. It'll show you kind of how things come in, how you get more players, how things go. There may not even be a playoffs, but it kind of lets you just kind of go through a process in a short practice season, so to speak. It's kind of what I'm thinking. Nope, let's stay on track. Let's write this down. All right, so we're going to go to ClickUp. Let's log in. First thing we need to do, we need more stats. We need stats, rating, salary. Those are the 3 things I need right now because I can't start drafting players until they have a salary and a rating. Now, the salary is going to be based on whatever. I haven't decided how I'm going to calculate the length of their contracts. I'm sure there's a way. Manage Outlook and Google Calendar. All right, so let's see here. So Fantasy football. Let's go sprint. Now I haven't created a sprint in a really long time because I haven't been focusing on sprints. And it's been tricky, to be honest, because I really do need to define all of the skills that I need to create. And what that means is all my players, which are these guys, player skills. So if my first thing is skills, let's go over to my skills here. Player skills. And we got offensive skills. And the offensive skills I need to finish: pass blocking skill, run blocking skill, what is log pass credit? Long pass credit. This is scale value. long passes per game. Oh, all right. So some teams got a thing I call long pass credit, as you can see. What it does is it gives these players kind of a bonus blocking ability when they're throwing a long pass. It's kind of like, it just means that they were pretty good and they got a little extra something. So even though their salary was X or Y, it took all their logic and basically made them better for the purpose. So it's interesting though that the Saints were a better run blocking team than they were a pass blocking team, because they've had good running backs, but it's generally it was all about Drew Brees back when I had these stats. But if I want to calculate, let's go do it. Let's go do we got pass blocking. And what I'm going to do is build it based on teams and then give them a ratio of a percentage of that stat based on whether they started or not. So if it's based on team and we know there's 5 players, it'll probably be like a divide the value by 5, and give them a percentage based on how many games they started. And if they didn't start any, what I might not do is put any offensive players in that don't have, yeah, but how do you get backups? How do you get backups on your team? I think I may only do starters for drafting purposes. Only put starters in and then set up all other players with a potential that might be based on that, but it's not actual, so they'll get less, like maybe whatever skills I define for them, they get a fraction of those skills. And it'll have to be all players get the skills we divided out as about pass blocking, run blocking will be reduced to an amount that is like min max. Like if the Detroit Lions have the lowest, like they have run blocking at 9, divide that by 5, that means basically your players are what, 1.8, and then you got a 1.8 as the minimum for run blocking as a starter. That means anybody who's not a starter would probably get maybe even 0.2 less than that. Maybe they only get a 1.6. And everybody gets the 1.6. And then they get a lower potential, you know, because they're not even starters on the worst team. So it's like if you're a run blocker for the Saints, or even let's say the Patriots, your run blocking skill is going to be a 3.4. And at 3.4, then if you're not starting on that team, like you never started any games, but you played and you were on their team, you end up getting like maybe a 3.0. And potential might be a driven value of some amount less than the max value. You don't, you know, they were just on the bench. You don't know what they got, how they play could be dependent on how you know, whether you draft them. And those guys wouldn't be in the draft. So the draft that you're going to pull from is every team's going to be every team starter. So those that played in at least 15 games will be in the initial draft pool for you drafting your teams. So every team gets to, so you get a draft from all the team starters for one season. Now the tricky part's going to be, how do I introduce the players from following seasons, right? So do you start a new league with those players, or do I flatten out their stats so that they can play as rookies and you just draft them? but they have potential that matches what their actual stats were. That could be interesting. It's gonna be tricky. I have some ideas, but of course, you know, you kind of gotta get it right? So you don't, so people aren't like, what the heck? But I want to introduce as many new players as I can. But then again, I could just pull in actual rookies, let them come in, and play them the draft. What I was really thinking was all future players would be introduced to the league through things like waivers and free agencies. So this way you could get players out there, but they're going to have, you know, salary requirements and things that are out there. So you can actually upgrade your team if you can afford them, right? If you'd rather have X or Y on your team, if you can afford the players. But remember, you're still going to have a salary cap, and if I keep introducing new expensive players every season, you know, your salary is going to block you from getting too many of those really good players. So that's the idea. It's going to stay balanced. You could maybe trade out your already superstar, release him for another player that you really want. You know, maybe you want the 2013 Peyton Manning when he's available. He's not going to be Peyton Manning. He'll be whatever. You have to figure out who it is, but you might want him on your team because he has fantastic stats. Probably going to be a kind of expensive player to get, but maybe you really want him on your team. But he's also kind of old at that time, right? So his degradation could be interesting as well. So you're going to get a great player for a year, but the following season may be less than great. How important is it for you to try to win the Super Bowl now? Are you investing in the present or the future? Depends, I guess, on how much are you trying to get a good team over the hump, or are you trying to build a bad team? If you have a bad team, you probably don't want to spend all your money on a guy who's getting old and is playing great or not. It may not be enough to carry your team. They didn't carry the Broncos that year. Things didn't work out so well in the Super Bowl. But we won't talk about that much. Hold on, I gotta let my dog out. You believe I'm wearing a blanket and it's 95 degrees outside? According to my little thing here, 92. Well, I don't know. It's 92 in back and 86 in front, or vice versa. It could be 92 in front and 86 in back. No, it can't be 86 in back. The back is always the hottest and only cools. Huh. It's hot regardless, and I'm wearing this because my heat pump is going nuts. All right. I really do got to start getting these guys in. So let's do it. I've kind of got logic built in my head, so now it's time to turn my head logic into actual logic. So we're going to go build some more stats. These stats, which are pass blocking skill and run blocking skill, need to be calculated. So we're going to go ahead and just undo these. Time to make some progress. Enough enough thinkiness, not enough doiness. We're going to say get, because it is calculating it, but we're actually getting it, because we're getting it for the purposes of putting it into the system. Which means, and I also have, I think, the, oops. Okay, good. Calculate. I don't have that. Kick return. Yards per rush. Calculate after catch. All security. Here we go. Alrighty, let's now we need to go get some team values. So we're going to go ahead and utilize, like I said, I have formulas already, so it kind of tells me what stats exist, really is what this is all about, getting the stats I need to, because I kind of went through all this. So we're going to make sure that I get all the stuff I need here. All right, so my yards per pass, or pass blocking, is based on OLPB, offensive line pass blocking, which is a value stored. Is that this one? OLPB, yes. All right, so we got to go get team. I have to get, nope, that's not it. I have adjusteds, so I got to go get team adjusted passing yards per attempt. Team pass attempts. Passing attempts. So I can show you what I'm looking at. I'm looking at my formulas here. And I have my run blocking, or say pass blocking, because I think that's what I'm working on, right? Pass blocking, yeah. Pass blocking is made up of, well, the pass credit, but we'll worry about that in a minute. We have, first I need to get team adjusted passing yards per attempt, which I don't know where that is. Sacks. Sack yards. Where the heck is team? Where is this value? Team adjusted yards per attempt. That's adjusted sacks per attempt. That's this one. Is this one adjusted yards at catch? Huh, it is. Poor names. Poor naming conventions. Would be good if I matched the heading in some way. Okay, so this number is the team yak per attempt, yards at catch per attempt, minus the offensive line sack yards per attempt. So the way this determines is that my thought in it is that if your offensive line is doing a good job, you're not going to have a lot of lost sack yards, right? Most of these are going to be pretty small numbers. Because for one, you're not giving up that many sacks. So let's go ahead and go get that. pass blocking. And does this have some team logic? I gotta go figure out. I gotta go find my team stat values. I don't have. What's the problem with this? Expected, found, can't. Did I do something wrong here? Oh, yeah, I'm probably not passing in the values. Huh, no. Commas? No. Expected blah, found hand skill. Oh, I think I forgot to close this one. Okay. There we go. I deleted my enclosure with my comment header. Comment. Okay, I'll fix one problem at a time. Where's my team controls, my team values? I don't have team fetches on here. So I need to go to my team. I have defensive. Defensive does it. I just got to copy because I don't remember how to do this. So I got team stats, which have to be passed in. Alright, so we'll take this. I'm going to go over my set offensive skills. Oh, I have team stats. I just need to pass them through. Okay. And right before control modifiers is the norm. Yes. Oh, let's turn these off for now. So what this is one of my logging system things that I created. What this allows me to do is put logs into my functions, and for testing purposes allow them to drop certain values for me. But then when I'm doing the actual running of the set offensive player skills, I can set them all to false and it won't show any of those logs. So I don't get a bunch of logs when I'm building my database. So that's what that's all about. And the only ones that need it right now are these two because I definitely need team stats. In here, probably the same format as this guy, and we'll go So now we have team stats. Whoops. Probably shouldn't have put that there though. It's this one that needs it. Did I put this on the wrong? Did I put that on the wrong thing? Because I don't think that's supposed to be there. That one doesn't use team stats. And hopefully I put it in the right place here. Okay, I did. All right. So I don't have any logs on this. That's why I'm complaining about this, because I'm not using it. What I'm thinking about doing is removing some of these scaled values and then scaling them because the problem with the scaled values is I need to use the scaling based on, the scaling has to be set based on all players and values, because like I have a low fumble percent and a high fumble percent. Honestly, I could probably calculate some of this. I could probably do a calculation on fumble percentages and then not have to hard code this. Right now I have a high fumble and low fumble, but what I'm doing is I'm taking the high fumble and low fumble percentages and storing them as control modifiers, when I could probably calculate that and then like subtract and add like 0.2 or some fraction that's a percentage difference that gives me a peak value. So the idea is that you would probably never have a perfect rating, because the system is going to be defined around kind of preventing a perfect rating. It should never be more than one perfect rating on anything. So I'd like to have it be based on min and max. And whenever somebody comes in and beats it, it readjusts everybody. Everybody gets readjusted. And the point is that everybody gets to stay balanced within the system. So somebody breaks some records and beats out all that, well, when they come into the system, they will have a rating that is different from all others, and it readjusts everybody. And everybody's dollar values tweak. Now, if they're under contract with your team, that's what they are, but their skills might be rebalanced. It'll be overall about the same. Your team shouldn't change much, because you might still have all your bonuses and stuff that go along, and they're just going to affect whatever the value is. It's just that in relation to whatever new players came in, your player is going to have a rating that's slightly lower. So when you're looking at their rating, it might go from 99 to 98.2 or something. I don't know. I'm not going to be like Madden, where all these players get to be 99s just because. I don't even know how Madden decides who's a 99. And how do you do that year in and year out? How do you have 99s year in and year out? That's saying that you have every year somebody in the league was perfect, which is going to make for really weird, well, because they don't ever allow for okay, so like each year you only get one set of players, right? You get that season's 2025, you get the 2025 or 2024 players. That's all you get. You're never bringing in 2026 players or 2024 players or any other players. So you can go ahead and have some, because everybody's weighted only against their season. My game's going to try to be weighted against all players in all seasons that come in. So if you have some players that were superstars, they come into your league in some way, and they're going to be they're going to rebalance things. They come into the game in any way, they're going to rebalance things. So you may find that you get a rebalanced player, and that player's not even in the league. They're just in the game now. They've been imported, and they adjusted things because they were better than everybody else. and they resulted in a rebalance. But the new max is now, the bar has been raised, so to speak, and it results in only that guy getting to be really good at that thing. So it's like, what if a guy has like stupid amounts of interceptions but stupid amounts of touchdowns? He breaks touchdown records, but his interception thing has gone off the deep end. I don't know. That'd be like a team that just throws a ton, and this guy is just hitting on all cylinders for passing, but he throws a lot of them to the other team too. Maybe he has like 20 interceptions in a year, but he has 50 touchdowns, which is still not bad. What is that? But you're still throwing at the 70. You're throwing close to 30% interceptions, 1 out of every 3. Not too good. Not too good. It's actually 1 out of every what? For every 2.5 to 1. 2.5 touchdowns to 1 interception. It's good, not great. Because you're probably losing a lot of those games. But you're also moving the ball a lot. I mean, 50 touchdowns. If your defense is good, maybe you're not losing, because that's a lot of touchdowns. I mean, what was the record? Peyton Manning threw 48, wasn't it? In 2013, or was that, or was it 50 something? It was Dan Marino who threw 48. I don't know. Really? That was all? Final Destination. Well, that's some good movies. I mean, F1 was good. Minecraft was, I could see why it did okay. Sinners was good. Superman was good. Weapons was good. I don't know, I haven't seen Weapons. I just hear it's good. And I didn't know Final Destination was that good. But okay, I know. Let's get back to it. Anyway, so I'm trying to... Oh, I was going to look up... I was going to look up something to do. I was going to do fumble percent, and I think I was just going to look up something that wasn't relevant to what I was actually trying to do, because it doesn't matter. Let's get back to it. All right, pass block. Let's go get my team stuff. I have my team stats here. Defense uses team stats. So we're going to go get some stuff with this. I'll just copy, because then I'll know how it set it up. What I may even do is maybe give a little bit of weight to certain types of players. Like the left tackle is supposed to be pretty good if you know, for protecting the blind side of your QB. So maybe I can do something like give the left tackle a percentage higher, like a couple higher, maybe. Tackles in general are a little bit more important because they're protecting the outside, so the tackles get higher and then the insides might get less. So maybe I give an extra fraction to the outside guys and a little less. This way you just create more variation. So the tackle's getting more than the guards and the centers. That might be a good way to go. In fact, I think I'll do that. And then I can tweak that if I feel like it's not a huge difference, but like left tackle might get a little bit more, right tackle get a little bit, and then the difference goes to the guards and the centers. Something like that. That's my thought. We're going to go with it. I think I will. All right, per player pass blocking will be based on the team stats for the team divided by the rate of starting. While players with no starts. What I might do is only keep players that at least played in games, and it might be a divisional ratio that I can give down. So like, first I go by starts, that brings it down, and then I go by games played, that brings it down. Kind of like the diminishing returns kind of thing. So if you started all 16 games, great. If you started 15, you get a little less. If you started 14, you get a little less than that. The goal is that every player gets some fraction of, so if you have 5 guys that started all the games, that's great, you know, but maybe you have some other guys that only played, you had a great offensive line with some depth, but some guys maybe got less because you got guys that were trading out, you know. But while players with no starts get less than fifth. We'll figure out something. I'll create some control modifiers that I can tweak if I don't like the way certain things are balancing out. I mean, truthfully, your second, third, fourth string guys shouldn't be as good blockers because that's why they're second, third, and fourth string guys. I do like giving second, third, and fourth string guys these, you know, potentials that can be close to or equal the starters. And then that opens up the door for while they're, so if you do draft them or pick them up, they could potentially turn into something because the potential of a player can lock in as fixed and give them new baselines, allowing for a player to actually excel. So if your guy happens to perform well through his potential abilities, that could lock in some stats. So maybe this guy is actually performing better because now he's got a locked in stat increase. Some of that won't always be visible because you're going to get these bonuses that affect a player's ability throughout a season. And then, so it won't be imaginary that your guy who's not playing, wasn't, you know, not doing so good, didn't have the stats, is actually playing above his stats level. It's not going to be imaginary. Your players will earn that through momentum and success. The more they succeed, the better they get, kind of thing. And failing doesn't necessarily guarantee a drop off. Maybe like drop offs are less for failing, but you get better, you get more for going forward, or forwards are more of a fixed and drop offs are kind of a fraction. And you can keep going up and getting better throughout the season. So theoretically, this kind of helps with all the teams, right? So everybody who's got any success is going to be improving as the season goes on. So in theory, by the end of the season, all the teams are a little bit better, or a lot of the players are a little bit better. Or there'll be some players that are, you know, tanked and they're kind of going the wrong way. But the idea is that you're going to have these seasons where you've got to learn to take advantage of the hot hand and who's doing good, and you're going to have to make some choices. And then at the end of the season, what are their actual stats or skill improvements? So you might be a hot hand this year, and he played really good last year, but certain things can affect whether or not they keep some of that stats. You're not going to be able to go like, if you have Peyton Manning 2013 playing, or you have some guy who plays at the level of like record-breaking all throughout the season. Next season, he may have some pretty nice boosts on a lot of his stuff, but he's not going to be a given to do that again. So his stats may have gone to the point where he's like Superman at the end of the season, but he's only going to get like, say he starts here and he performs and plays and things are going his way and the team is on a roll, and then now they're up here, they finish up here, but the next season now his skills may have only jumped to here, so his new baseline is higher. He's good, he's still considered very good, but now he's got a better chance of success again to start. But it doesn't guarantee he's going to get that level of success, right? So he could still kind of fall off. He could play better. But he may not be at that same level of success. Certain things might not drop off. Maybe his confidence is going to stay high, and the confidence is going to, you know, helps tweak some of the results. So I'm going to have a lot of these kind of things in there. scales and measures that can improve a player's potential for success. But confidence can drop, and other things can, like things like confidence and morale and what do you call it? Motivation. Was it motivation? Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have a lot of these intangible factors in the game that are going to have various effects on the game and how your players perform. And if you can tweak those and push some of those up with various things, coaches' skills and success, calling good plays, having your coach be doing pretty well, and having your team win, some of those things can start to tweak, and this is how you get a team that's having a hot season. And you're trying, each year you don't get to keep all that, because it's got to be coming back up. So some players will get better, and some players might start getting poached, because now teams are going to be like, ooh, that guy did really good, he's really high, and they're going to look at how he performed in the previous season, and maybe they're going to offer up a chunk of cash for him, and he's going to say, well, my contract's up, I'm going to leave, and you may not have that guy next season unless you can afford to keep him. So that kind of thing. How are we doing on time here? All right, so let's go put in my team here, my team stuff. I know my time is probably not good. I talk a lot, sorry. I do a lot better. Honestly, I make a lot more progress when I'm not streaming, but I like to stream, so hey. I gotta do it. Get people noticing, get people on board with my great plans. All right, so the first play I need are sack yards lost. I'm just going to get the same stats and then I'll build it. But the actual stat is not that. Team stat, get total plays against. What is long? I gotta go see what this is. Team passing. Team passing. Long. What is that? Interceptions, 53. Well, team passing, what is that? Sack. So we got TDs, interceptions, interception percent, along. How many times were they sacked? $41 times. A lot of these teams are sacked a lot. The Saints were only sacked 20 times. That's really good. I don't know what LST is, though. See if this can tell me. I have it in my Logic, so my Logic must have known what it was at the time. I must have known what it was at the time. But clicking those links don't work right now because I don't actually own the... I don't have a membership right now going with the stat source. What does Cal refer to? See if this can tell me. Let's see if it can deduce what that is. Lost yards due to sacks. Sack yards lost. That's what that is. Okay, so we're gonna go player.team. Oh, I was doing some divisional. I'm not doing the divisionals right now. Let's just go. We're gonna go get sack yards lost. I just need to get all the stats, and then I can build the formulas up that are going to actually make this stuff up. And I was doing scaling on this too, so again, I'm just going to build these, take the values, and build my results without the scaling, and I will scale them later. So we'll just see what numbers I get, and then I can scale them into the ratio I want. Team passing 2. So we're gonna go get yak. Get team yak per reception. Team yak per reception. What else do I need? Passing attempts. Okay, so I made adjustments for BLS. So BLS is behind the line of scrimmage. And the reason for that is it's easier to make those passes. So I don't give them as much credit for quick dump offs. In fact, it's almost negative, right? Because that means If you're throwing BL behind the line of scrimmage a lot, that's actually bad. That means things are kind of collapsing on you, because most of the time, a high percentage of that means you're not giving your quarterback enough time to find players downfield. Now, yes, that could also mean your receivers aren't getting open, but it all attributes, right? So a lot of BLS throwing means either your quarterback can't find players, he's not making good decisions, you have bad offensive line giving up, making your quarterback run and panic, or you have bad receivers who can't seem to get open. But ultimately, you have to give get passing attempts team pass attempts and sacks, team passing. That's adjusted. Okay, so these are numbers that team passing, offensive line, team sacks. Wait. Oh, I didn't get sacks? Get time sacked. I did. Oh, I should have got that stat. Stop. On my thing here, I have it looking it up twice. Might be a little faster if I stop looking it up twice. But I only needed the sack. And I have attempts. Team passing BLS attempts. Team pass attempts. Team passing. Okay, and this one doesn't look anything up. I'll look up. All right, now we got to do another one. Team. Passing. 5+. Is that attempts? Nope, just how many successful long passes. Okay. Okay, so I have I have these stats I need now to build my my skills, or the pass blocking skill. Now I have to go reference these stats in my team passing. So I have a get what is it? Get team stats. Teamstats.go. I should probably call it get team stats, because that's player stats. It should be get team stats, because it's basically the same thing. In fact, I am going to rename this. Because that's the way it should be. Put it on my get, and we're gonna go rename. Honestly, my team stats test, I don't think that's doing anything. Some of my stats, my tests, like I have pretty solid tests in these ones, but I don't know I'm even doing any team stats stuff. And this, how big is this? Look at this, I'm at 350. This is 600 lines. I'm gonna have to break this up. What I might do is the same thing I did with get player stats, which is just the get player stats. I don't think there's actually, oh wait, maybe I'm wrong. this is just the functions, how what you're doing with it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do the same thing. So then I have offensive and defensive, and I might break up that too if there's enough of them. With team ID, get team stat, get stat from team Bison, get all teams, get team name, and then I have all these. All right, let's copy this. And we're going to call this one rename get team defensive stats. And I should probably learn to spell. So go up here, try to spell it. Okay, so we're going to go to the defensive stats here. And we're going to dump a lot of stuff. Fresh. And we're going to get rid of this. And I don't know what that is. Get document keys, don't worry about that. Team stats, nope. Raw team data, nope. Close, nope. Current timestamp, nope. Init global team stats manager, nope. Get team stats manager, nope. What did I just do? Okay. Total plays. I don't know what that is. Stats option. I don't know what that is. Jeez, I have a lot of get team stats crap. Get all teams. Team name. All right, well, it's definitely smaller. Now I need to do total tackles, sacks, special teams tackles, that's all defensive. Rush attempts and pass attempts are offensive. Punts are offensive. Kickoffs are offensive. Field goal attempts, offensive. Total defensive play, probably defensive. Defensive. Okay. Total plays ran, that's offensive, right? Total plays. Get total plays ran and get league total plays ran. Get league total defensive plays. Yeah, I don't know if I need that. Why do I have a league total defensive plays? I don't think anything's using those. Get all teams, because it's doing a sum, adding them up, but I don't. What am I doing with that? Yeah, that's not a thing. I'm not even, that's not even going to create. I'm not going to create that unless I need it. At the moment, don't need it. Returns a formatted summary of team's key stats. Do I want that? Well, I certainly don't need it here. More team stats summary. Passing yards, rushing yards, TDs, rushing TDs, interceptions, fumbles recovered. Oh, that's probably defensive. Get team plays by type. Huh. Get team plays by type. Get team defensive stats. Really? What's that being used for? Offensive, tests, stats. It's not being used for anything. Team stats demo.mongodb. What are we doing with that? Team stats demo? Huh. Don't know what that is either. What is this? Huh. Yeah. Test team stats with Mongo data. What is that? Oh, we're going to leave that somewhere else. I don't need that here. It's not a defensive thing, that's like an overall thing. Okay, wait, did I overdo it? Where did all my stats go? Where am I? Oh, this is team stats test. What the heck, man? I'm not even in the right place. I'm not even on the defensive page anymore. I don't know. I think AI, when I was working with it, created some functions that I didn't ask for. Surprise! So, yeah, surprise, surprise. It did something I didn't ask for. That's what agent does for you. Or if you don't actually look through every function, that's what you're gonna get. Well, that took a lot of stuff down to 66, but that doesn't get me off. My offensive skills have the same problem. So, oh, not offensive skills. My offensive stats, which I gotta rename this guy. And we're gonna do the same basic thing where we're gonna dump everything down to when I actually start creating stuff. Raw data, team stats, team player, new stats, and net stat mapping. Team, get team stat from Vison, all teams. Total tackles is not defensive, or not offensive. Sacks, tackles, miscellaneous tackles. So we have punts, kickoffs, field goals, defensive plays, runs and passes against. Total plays ran, which I'm pretty sure there's a way to actually get that isn't this. It doesn't require me to add them all up. I think that information exists somewhere. Get league, total plays ran. Defensive plays, team stats summary, team stats summary. Passing yards, rushing yards, TDs, interceptions, fumbles recovered. Team defensive stats, offensive stats, and player by position, so we don't need that either. Okay, so we're getting it down a little bit. All right, so now, as we clean up all this, I could take out these individual calls. Here. Total plays ran. Defensive plays. These guys. Well, we're almost down to my required number, which is 500 is the max. I don't like having more than 500. I think there's a lot of dead functions in here. I don't think a lot of these are being used. and I need to get rid of a lot of them. But 500 is still better than, I don't know, however many stupid amounts I had before. $533. Well, it could be better for sure. I don't know if I need the get team stats summary thing. I don't even know where that's being used. Is that being used anywhere? A demo again. And in the test. Oh, this is, no. It's called in test. I don't know what I'm doing with the in test. In order to make this actually decent, I may have to figure out a way. No, I guess it ain't that many. Just to pull these stats out, but I don't know. Maybe I don't need to. I just need to get rid of all these, because there's like a lot of functions here that I don't think are even getting used anywhere. I mean, I feel like some of that is dead, but all right, 500 is better than whatever amount I had before. Did I get rid of this total defensive place? I must have. And this is all logging. I mean, it's just going into... This is a weird stats thing. Okay. Hey, Chun. Really? Well, you know why I'm doing it. The reason I'm doing it is AI told me to. I mean, when it comes right down to it, that's what AI said. So I wanted to develop this game, and I wanted it to be on mobile, right? It's going to have two versions at first. I'm planning to have a PC version and an iPhone version, but first it's going to be a web version and an Android version. And the Android is where most of the graphics will be, and web will have some features that are different, and probably a lower graphics version. But I want this to be cross-platform. And so I go, well, what are people using it? And there's a couple of games that I kind of want to model the aesthetic. The aesthetic? I guess that's the right word. I like the way the game runs of Marvel Snap. I also like the way a game called Big Win Football runs. I like those two games. Now, I've also seen a couple of other games like Super Tiny Football, which is also on Android. They have appearances I kind of like, which are all done in Unity. All three of those are done in Unity. Okay, and then I thought, well, I want to have a back end for my database or for my game that's online on a server, but these apps, the mobile games, the mobile apps, use use my services on those mobile devices. And I go, well, what's the most common? What are these guys using? And they said, well, the two most common for Android development for back-end services are Java and Go. And I didn't want to do Java. I feel like from what I understand, my history with Java is that it's not the most performant. It's just popular because it's been around forever. And I also thought, well, my background comes from like C#.NET framework, which isn't even, currently, was it MCP? I think it's MCP, or is it MS? I don't know. I get them all confused now because of all these different acronyms flying around. But anyway, it's .NET Core. I don't use .NET Core very much. So I'm like, well, do I really want to try to develop this in a language that, even though it's familiar to me, it's not known for its game development. And so that's why I went with Go. Now, I knew nothing about Go. I literally, before AI told me that one of the more popular backend languages for services or microservices was Go, I had to look up what Go was. I didn't even know what Go was. And this is in December, right? So I started this project in November, but by the time I was ready to start developing the back end and using Go, I had done some research. Before I even started messing with it, I had to look up what Go was, what kind of language was, how did it compare to the languages I sort of knew, which, well, I knew pretty well C#, but how did it compare to C#? How does it compare to Java, JavaScript, which I use for React, which I had basically just learned in the less than a year ago. I kind of started my React journey. And so yeah, that's kind of where I went. I knew nothing about Go, and then I had to figure out, well, I didn't know anything about Unity. I don't know anything about game development in Unity. In fact, before this project, I knew nothing about game development. I'm getting there, starting to learn a lot more. And then I had zero contact with Mongo database, except for one brief little lesson I took for a React online course that used Mongo, because I was doing a Next.js thing, and it was connecting to a Mongo database out on no, it wasn't Mongo. It was no, I think it was Supabase. Good grief, was it Supabase? Yeah, I think that was Supabase. In fact, before this project, now that I think about it, I knew of Mongo because my job I was doing before had a Mongo database application they were running. I didn't work on it. A friend of mine had moved over, and he took charge of that team. So he kept asking me if I knew Mongo, if I wanted to come over to the team, because he wanted me on the team, but I didn't have the skill set he needed. And so yeah, that's how I ended up this. So I'm doing a bunch of languages I had no information about, and so yeah, that's why I'm using Go. But I like Go. Go's working pretty good. It's pretty fast when it's compiling, and it does the trick. And I do like that I've gotten a lot of services. I've gotten 11 microservices running in the background now. These are all them. You can see them down here in the corner. These are all my services currently running. This is so that I can run my apps. I don't have my Unity app up right now, but I do have. I'm trying to make progress to the point of I want to have my first playable. I want to say playable, but what it's going to be is my first end-to-end functioning application, APK, for the Android. Hopefully by the end of September. I was hoping the beginning of September, but I've got some key elements I need to get developed between now and then. Preach, PHP. Surreal database. Geez, that's I don't even know what that is. Created their own game engine. Now that is some serious motivation. Creating your own game engine. That I mean, you have to have some. I don't know what is it? I can't think of the word, but you're definitely being. It's like why create your own game engine? That's all I'm saying. I hear it. I hear people saying, you're a game engine that does specifically what you want. I understand that is more going to be more efficient. It's only going to do what you want. But having there's a lot to be said for having. I don't know what I want yet, right? I have visions of sugar plums dancing in my head. I have a lot of ideas dancing in my head that I don't know that I could even come close to the amount of time it would take me to build a game engine. It'd be like saying, you know what? I don't like any of the languages out there. I'm going to write my own language. Why? Why would I do that? Other people can spend their time writing languages. I want to write an application. So creating a tool, I'm impressed by people who make time to create their own game engine, but just creating 3D models and animations and the meshes and all that is time consuming enough. I don't need to create the engine that's going to do it too. I just like that's just more work. What is Python? Is that some kind of oh wait. Is Python intentional? Some kind of blending between Python and something else? Or did you mistype Python? Oh, is that what it is? Okay. Um, Python. I took an intro course. Okay, that was a mistake. I took an intro course on Python, thinking it was a significantly different language from what I knew. Okay, so I said, well, I just want to learn the syntax because generally, for me, the big thing is learning syntax. Right? If you're going to change languages, it's really learning syntax. If you've been, I haven't been a developer for over 20 years, so I understand code. I can read code. I can optimize code. I can see what the processes are attempting. I understand what's happening, but I don't know the syntax for a lot of these other languages. And so when I started in Go, I knew nothing about Go, but I knew a lot about coding, right? So I knew a lot about that stuff. So I let AI do a lot of my syntax. But over the last 6 months, I'm getting better and better. Like right now, I'm doing a lot of updates and changes and tweaking and splitting of code, refactoring. But I've been doing all that stuff without AI because it's more work than necessary for me to go. I understand what I need to pull out, what needs to stay, because I've understood enough of that. I'm starting to learn the whole flow of my code. But still, when I have to write a big chunk of code, I'm going to let AI write that simply because, one, I still don't have all of the functions and methods and syntax memorized 100%. Two, AI types a lot faster than I do and is going to make less typos. I'm going to make all that stuff. So if I have to write something that's big and chunky, I let AI drop it first, and then I work with the AI to make sure that it's doing what I want. Because I do a lot of refactoring, but the amount of time it takes me to refactor is like infinitesimal compared to the amount of time I save using AI as my typist. I feel it's kind of gotten to that point where I'm more of a developer lead, a team lead, using AI as my coder, because he's just really good. He knows all the languages and he can type really fast. He's not the brightest tool in the shed when it comes to actually creating logical data, though. You have to really give him all the instructions. You have to be very specific typing it all, giving him all the details. And even then, he's probably going to mess some stuff up. But he'll type well, and he gets a lot done. So you could save a lot of hours just in the amount of time he helps you code. But so yeah, I use AI a lot in my work. But I still think that anybody who thinks that AI is going to take over the world, they need to just work with AI regularly for a couple of months, and you're going to start to realize that's not happening. Not anytime soon, anyway. And by soon, I mean it's not a year, 2 years, 5 years. We're going to have to come up with some significant improvements in technology before AI is anywhere close to being smart. Yeah. Like right now, I've been doing some refactoring, and then I'm like, where the frick did this function come from? The AI just decided, you know what, this function might be useful. And I'm like, why? I don't need that. Who asked for that? And it slips things through. I got to admit, when I ask for a big, complicated task, and AI will drop what I need, and it works as I need, and I may not even notice that it added some extra little thises and thatses functions, and I'll go look at those later and go, nothing's using these. Why? Because it creates thinking you might need them at some point, and they're just logging tools. And I'm like, I don't need any of that. Just delete that crap. So yeah, it's a good tool, but it's not smart. It's a great typist. And I actually think at this point, it seems like we're going backwards or sideways in the AI advancements. A lot of people have been complaining that ChatGPT 5, the new latest and greatest, is worse than ChatGPT 4. So they can't, it's not real. It's kind of like it went, it's not, it go up and then, I still use Claude more than anything. Claude. I'm using Claude 4, but 3.5 still. I still use 3.5 sometimes. I'm using Claude Sonnet 4 right here. I rarely use. The only time I use ChatGPT is when I want to get a second opinion, or I'm looking up information, or I need some other kind of info. And really, Claude's kind of still my thing, even though I have access. This does give me GPT-5. I have Gemini CLI installed, but I've heard good things, and it does some things pretty good, but I'm not 100% sold. I keep coming back to Claude. I am actually thinking, right now I've got the $20 a month plan on Copilot. Now, I think the next thing I might need to do is get a different CLI. But I still think I'm not going to go, I don't have any money, right? I've been unemployed forever. So I'm keeping things tight. But I might invest in another $20 a month plan. So I'm either going to go with Claude CLI, so that, because I do hit my max, because when I'm working, getting a lot of work done, I will hit the end of usually about middle of the month, I'll hit the end of my premium requests. So I don't know if you know this. This is kind of cool. If you use Copilot. If you don't use Copilot, you're not going to care about this. But Copilot actually has a cool thing here. You can go, where's it at? On the Copilot, let's see. Well, it was right here. Unless they deleted it. Where'd it go? Okay, so it was here. They must have removed it. It was here just, I used it just a couple weeks ago. Yeah, that's what I use, GitHub Copilot. I don't use ChatGPT often. But there was a thing on here, I can't find it, that showed you you could only see it in Visual Studio. That's why I'm on here. But you could go in here and it would show you all the requests you had. They must have removed it though, because I'm not seeing it anymore. And you could see if you were close, or if you know what your current percentage of all your, how much you had used. Next is suggestions. Huh. It was on this. It said your current, it had your current usage meter. It was really cool. I just discovered it by accident, and I was using it for weeks and months. But they probably go, oh wait, I don't want to let people. Oh, it says temporarily unreachable. Oh, I wonder if I probably need to reconnect. That's probably what's going on. Let's hit stop. It's probably not connected. That's why. Let's see here. That's probably what's going on. Why is it temporarily unreachable? Go away. So, all right, now we're connected. Manage Copilot subscription. Nope, that's not it either. Dang nabbit. Where'd it go? You don't tell me you removed it, you cheapskates. You suck. Ah, there it is. Copilot consumptions. So this is the plan I'm on. Premium requests used. See, I've only used 11% for this month. Usually I was on vacation for like almost 2.5 weeks, 17 days. So all going on 3 weeks. But I didn't use up as much. Usually I'm pretty close to getting towards the end by the second or third week of my Copilot usages. Now, if you try to find, I struggle to find where this was on the GitHub webpage, and it doesn't exist here in this stuff unless they added it. Let's see. View prompt instructions tools generate. Yeah, see, none of these in let's see, maybe here. Yeah, see, in VS Code, it's nowhere. There is no easy way to see what you've consumed if you're using a lower end Copilot. How close are you to being out of requests? It doesn't show up in VS Code, but in Visual Studio, you can click on this and go to Copilot consumptions, and it loads up this little dialog. It shows you how many you've used, which is really cool. So you'll know how close you're getting to using up all of your things. So I'm on the Pro plan, which is like entry level Copilot, just enough. But it's been enough for me so far. I've hit my limit a couple times, but then I was able to stumble across the finish line for the end of the month using online, or even not using it, doing other stuff. But yeah, so if you want a cool little tip, if that kind of thing matters to you. If you're paying the $200 a month, you probably never have to worry about it, because you probably never get that close, unless you're really prolific. But I've created a couple little apps. I created a ClickUp app. If you use ClickUp, this ClickUp app. Let's see. Let's close this. If you don't use ClickUp, if you don't do any personal project management, you probably don't care about this either. But oh yeah. Okay, well, I know all of the online streamers out there, they're paying the $200 a month. All the ones that talk about Copilot or their code or whatever, they're saying, oh yeah, I'm paying the $200 a month plan, but they're not usually those people are rarely using Copilot though. They're usually using either Windsurf or Cursor or Claude. They're paying for those ones. I liked Cursor. I don't know if I'd want to. I feel like you're paying for two things when you do Cursor, right? Because you pay for Cursor, and you have to pay for the service that's going through Cursor, right? So if you're using Cursor, you're paying twice just for one set of services, and I don't want to do that. That's expensive. Well, the nothing better part of that is debatable. Because Cursor's free. Why? I mean, it's really kind of, or not Cursor, check. Yeah, it just feels like I'm paying for two things. Why pay for an IDE? You know? I mean, it's a good IDE. Windsurf is a decent IDE too. They're nice. But I just don't know if you're not rich, if it's worth the double strike just to do the same thing. So yeah, I might pay for the Claude because Claude can be ran, you know, here in your terminal. So yeah, JetBrains also has they have their own little tools as well as their own thing. Is JetBrains another IDE? I've never used JetBrains IDE. I've used their little add-ins that you can put into VS Code or into Visual Studio that do a lot of extra things to help you, you know, get better, prettier code, whatever. They know their code optimization tools. I've used those, but I only used them where I worked. I used to work at a company that was using the JetBrains add-ins. But no, I have never used an IDE by them. Oh, nice. um, yeah, I think it's pretty much, or at least at this point, it seems like the top two IDEs out there, if you're not using, if you don't want to use VS Code, are Windsurf and Cursor. Now there are IDEs like Gemini and Claude that are not really IDEs. They're command line interfaces that work like IDEs. Like if I don't know if you've ever used Gemini. Gemini's is pretty free, so you could install it in VS Code if you just want to play with it and try Gemini's. You can install it, and they basically give you like 1,000 requests or some crazy amount, and you just run it through your terminal. So I can go in here and ask Gemini. This is whatever the latest version of Gemini. See, it's using Gemini 2.5, which I think is the current. And you can go in here and work with Gemini. If I want to work with Gemini instead of Claude, and sometimes I will, I'll try it out just to do it. But Claude does this too, and I've heard Claude is just by far the best. If you're going to do this kind of thing, but Claude is not free like Gemini. So Google decided Gemini was going to be free, at least for a while. I don't know how long it's going to last, but at least for now, this IDE is free. So if you want to try it out, I would recommend it. It's actually not bad. It does a pretty good job of planning. And I noticed that, you know, all these AIs seem to do better at certain things than others. ChatGPT is the best image guy, right? So if you go on to ChatGPT online and use Sora, whatever, it's going to do the best images. Right now, it's unbeatable. It's great. I don't know about 5, but I know 4 was great at images. I don't know if they updated that at all. Claude is all about just writing decent code. Um, Chat ChatGPT is also pretty good at documentation. So if you want to get some help from just creating like um, your game design docs, your application design docs, Gemini's or Claude GPT is pretty good at that. Gemini, I haven't done a lot of documentation attempts, but I do notice that Gemini is pretty good at finding bugs that Claude misses. Let's just say that they look at things differently. I won't say that it's better at finding bugs than Claude. What I will say is I've had times when Claude couldn't figure something out that Gemini was able to figure out. But more often than not, Gemini, if it can't figure it out, will not figure it out ever. In other words, it'll go down a rabbit hole. You'll just spin in circles. Claude, sometimes if you can get it centered or try new things, it'll keep trying, and it'll sometimes find its way to the right route. But Gemini, I think it's just got a narrower view of things. This is how I think it should be done. If it's not right, it doesn't work, it may never get there. So it's going to go down the rabbit hole, and you'll know, you know when AI takes down the rabbit hole, when you're just going around in circles, right? It's like, oh, fix this, blah, blah, blah. That didn't work. Oh, okay, well, fix this. We'll say, wait, that's the same thing you just did. Don't do that. Okay, well, I'll do this. That's the one that didn't work a second ago. Okay, screw you. I'm going to go do it myself. So oftentimes you just find it yourself. You got to know when to pull the plug on AI, right? So you're working with AI and you're trying to get it to do what you want. There's a point where you just got to say, okay, AI does. It can't figure it out. You just got to go do it yourself. I'm starting to know Go well enough that I can often figure out now. Like in the first month or two while I was working on this, if AI couldn't figure it out, I had to figure some way to get it. I tried the other versions of AI. I tried Black Box. I tried Claude. I did GPT. I did Gemini. And eventually something would get me there, or at least give me enough information that I could solve it myself. Give me what it's trying to do, because I understood it. But yeah, it goes pretty good. I've never tried Rust. I've heard Rust is pretty fast. I've never done. I've wondered if I should try C++, to be honest. C++ is kind of like, well, I mean, when it comes right down to it, C++ is the daddy of all of them, right? I mean, it's not going anywhere. If you know C++ well, you've got work for life, right? You're never. There's always going to be work for a C++ developer, because C++ is used to create everybody else. It was the root for a lot of these other languages. And it's also, if you want to do fancy, weird graphical things in an optimized way, like you want to create Windows, you need C++, because that's what Microsoft used, right? It's a more base language. So that's kind of like, if you know C++, you're in great. Rust, I don't know anything about it, but I've heard it's fast. And I know nothing about Zig. I'd never heard of Zig. I think you just made that one up. I don't know what that is. That's my neophyte response. Nah, you made that up. That's not real. That's what I thought AI was doing when it mentioned Go back in back in December. I was like, wait a minute. Are you hallucinating? Are you creating stuff? But since then, I've learned that there's a lot of languages I hadn't heard of. And now you just introduced a new one to me. Oh yeah, Netscape created JavaScript. Well, JavaScript isn't that bad. I don't like TypeScript. The type version of JavaScript. I like working with React, which React and Next.js, React.js. But I'm not a fan of TypeScript. I just think I know it's a safer language, quotes, in air quotes, but it just seems like a lot of overhead. Yeah, it's just a pain. It's like I wrote this tool, this YouTube updater. What is it? I have it running right now because, I mean, I guess I don't need to. I already did the update that I wanted to for today. But this uses TypeScript because apparently it was required by the YouTube, I don't know, interfaces, object models. So when I ran this, I had to create all this stuff in TypeScript. And the AI would often write things that not type declare or whatever. And it goes, oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need to do this. It would do this. This didn't work. Oh, I just need to type declare this. Or so even AI, knowing it's working in TypeScript, couldn't figure out that it was missing the types. And think about it. If AI is missing it, people are going to miss it because people are going to miss it more than AI will. I mean, I guess you get in the habit, but still, it's this anyway. Yeah, that's my. So I've created a couple little tools recently. I created my my YouTube updater, which allows me to update the text because I use Restream, and Restream allows me to stream to both Twitch and YouTube. But when I stream to YouTube, it puts the Restream comment header in my text. It says, what does it say? Something like ran with Restream. So I ran my YouTube. I created this YouTube tool that can actually. Oh, where is it at? That's not it. Where'd it go? Did I close my YouTube tool? I probably did, because I probably didn't need it right now. But if I go to my YouTube updater here, so I'm currently streaming on YouTube under my Active Mind Gamer tag. And this is what it says. So what I'll do is at the beginning of a stream, I run this and I edit the description. And what's nice is I can even update the tags, which Restream won't put tags in for YouTube. I don't know why. It doesn't. I don't think it knows how, for whatever reason, or they haven't done it. So I can add my tags for this stream right from this as well. So I'll edit and update, and I can. So this is what my comment looks like there, and I take out the Restream. It's not a watermark because it's in the text, but it's a tag that info that sticks in there. But it works pretty good. That's where all of my streams go to live, because Twitch, you got 30 days, 60 days, whatever it is, and they delete. So I don't. Twitch is all about the now. YouTube's all about the later. I get more views on my streams on YouTube after I've streamed than I do while I'm streaming. Whereas Twitch, it's only when I'm streaming. So none of my stuff ever gets seen on Twitch after the fact. Well, maybe not none of it, but it's rare. Anyway, so that's where I'm at. So what I'm trying to do right now is work on my skills for my offensive skills sets. I still have some to go. And what I'm trying to get done is once I get my offensive skills, I can create my overall ratings of my players, which will allow me to set their salaries, which are the basis for how my game sets salaries. They're built off of actual real life skills. So these skills are built off of my imported data from the year of data that I have. I have a bunch of stats for a single season of the NFL, and all my players are built off those stats. And then I'm currently working on the offensive stats of pass blocking and run blocking, so I can assign that to my offensive lineman. So that's what I'm working on. It's a football game, in case you didn't get that. Because you can't see nothing. All my current stuff, you can't. I mean, I'm not showing it unless you look at my FCL little shield up here, and my little icons I have all over my stream. If you you might not know what I'm working on because this is all just the back end. I'm working on the services, and I'm doing it in a fantasy setting. So all of my players aren't going to be human; they're going to be players. But it's still just straight up football. I'm not doing any weird things like your players aren't going to have super skills or anything like that. But I may do some animations for celebrations and things like that. A lot of that'll come in later, like maybe as I get closer to launch or even after launch, because I just want to get a fully functional game that goes end to end, does what I want, all the base functionalities. And so if I'm going to get to the end of September and get this done, that means I got to have a simulation running. I got to have the ability to add players to your own team for people to be able to create their own. Right now, the game, when you create your account, you get a team. But I need to design the interface that's going to allow people to build the team up, put players on the team. My game is not going to be one of those like so many of them out there where they give you a team. It's the worst team in the league, and your goal is to build them up. So you have to play 2 or 3 seasons to be competitive. That's not necessarily true. My game is going to be one where you build your team. It's built in relation to all the other teams and that you're in with. And you're going to be able to, you might be competitive right out the gate. Maybe you drafted better, who knows? But you're going to be able to do things like run your game plans and your play. You create your own playbooks and your game plans and your roster. You'll be able to draft and do all the stuff that you want to be able to do in a league. So it's on a management game, but it's not a twitchy game. It's not Madden. You're not going to be able to control your players. But there will be players on the field. So most management games don't put players on the field. They just put dotted lines or lines that move back and forth. You're advancing, you're advancing, you're advancing. Oops, you're not advancing. They're advancing, they're advancing, which is just weird. It's like, that's no fun. I want to see my guys playing. I want to draft guys and then see whether or not that guy's any good. You know, I want to see him running on the field and breaking tackles and getting away. And I've already designed a lot of that functionality. I've already created the infrastructure for all my players to do stuff. But now I need to create the skills. Abbott Slim, hey, streamer. Abbott Slim. Is it Abba Teslim? You got one of those names. I can't quite pin down how to pronounce that. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to pronounce that. Abates lime. Yeah, you too, man. You're not going to try. Oh, no. Are you going to try and sell me something? Okay, so I've had a lot of people coming onto my stream lately going, oh, you're doing great. You're awesome. Hey, man, follow me on Discord. Add me to your Discord so we can talk. And then they try to sell you. Then they try to sell you their wares. I'm like, no thanks. I'm poor, man. I have no money. I haven't been working in a while. I'm not buying nothing. There's no money coming out of this bank. So you're gonna have to. But every time somebody starts talking like they know me and start talking about how amazing I am when they've never been here and they've only been watching me for about 2 seconds, I get nervous. But hey, if you think I'm doing great, I appreciate it, Abbott Slim. I'm always welcoming compliments, you know, so that's great. But yeah, I don't have any problem with that. It just gets my my what do you call it, my antenna going. What are we looking out for here? And then I'll settle in if the person just kind of sticks around and we chat and I see you again in the future and we're just chatting. That's fine. I'm all up for the people who want to come around and be part of the show. Where did my... Okay, where'd it go? Oops. I didn't know I was doing that, but okay. My inspiration? I'm developing a game, man. A football game. And I'm just sharing that, the progress I've been making over the months and months that I've been doing this. So if you're into mobile football games, this is your opportunity to see one in development. No, not at all. But my description and my title do kind of say what I'm working on for that day. But you should be able to see that. But at the same time, I know a lot of people don't read the description because that's boring. But yeah, if you're into football, American football, not soccer for all you soccer people out there, which, by the way, I'm starting a petition that the rest of the world needs to call soccer soccer. Not football. You know, you've got a perfectly good, yes, you've got a perfectly good name in soccer. We only have football. We don't have another name, so stop trying to steal it from us. Now, I get it. Soccer came first, but hey, we gave you another option. Use it. I wonder, was the word soccer created by by the United States so that it wouldn't conflict with football? Because we created, American football. I hate having to call it American football though. Even though whenever I'm talking to AI about it, I often have to say American football because like when I'm asking for a picture, I need a picture of a football player doing blah 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 blah. And if it's not something that makes it clearly obvious that it's American football, then it'll often draw me a soccer player, which annoys me. That annoys me all the heck. Yeah, I'm curious where the word soccer came from. Was that? I feel like that's a U.S. thing because they always called it football, didn't they? I know in Spanish it's el partido de fútbol. It's American football's el partido de fútbol americano, which is stupid because they always call it American football because we don't have another word like they do. They could just call it soccer. I get caught up on that rant all the time. People will come over and I'll say I'm making a football game, and they start thinking, "Oh, are you gonna have guys like Messi and oh he's got like no, because this is American football. This is there's no there's no matches or what do they call them friendlies or what do they call their teams? They have all these different terms. It's kind of funny. There's an American football game. There's a couple of them out there actually that you could tell were created by somebody who is not American. They use American football rules for the game, but they use terms like match and friendlies and all of the terms that are soccer to reference the kind of games and stuff that are going on in their game. And I'm like, that's not how football, they're not called matches in football, they're called games. We call them football games, not football matches. And when I see things like that, I'm like, so what are you, you're obviously not from, you don't know American football. You're using rules like it, but you're using terms that are not football. I don't know. I'm not being a hater. I like soccer's fine. It's okay. It's an okay game, but it's just, if you're going to create a football game for American football, use football terminology, please. When I was doing this game, before I created this game, I reviewed all the games. I mean, I downloaded all of the Android games. I looked at a lot of the PC games. I didn't buy them all because they're too expensive. But I looked at a lot of them. I played demos of them, tried them all out. And none of them did what I wanted. That's why I'm creating this. See, I would not create a game that I felt like was already out there. If somebody had already done it perfect or did it the way that I think it needs to be done, I'd be like, that's good enough. I have other ideas. I could have created a different game. But what I haven't found is anybody's done what I'm trying to do in my game. So I feel like I've got myself a good niche. I've got at least 4 features of this game that you will not find in any other game like it. And when I say like it, that means there's games that may have one of the features because in this type of game, or you have one of the features in this type of game. But my game's going to be a hybrid of all these games that do what I want. That's a little bit of everything, but not too much of anything. A little bit of everything, not too much of anything. Except for there won't be any control, player control, because I don't need that. I like the idea of building a team, watching them play. Plus, when you get humans playing against AI, it never really is realistic. Have you ever actually watched somebody play Madden on YouTube? Or you just watch 2 people who get really good at Madden and they start playing each other, and it's basically a bomb fest, right? They're just throwing all over the place. They're running all over the place. It's like, it doesn't look like football. Nothing like football. But you let AI play against itself, and people do what they're supposed to do. They do the strategies that they're supposed to do, and the game looks more realistic. So then it becomes more strategic in how you actually play the game. Yeah, but who created the name? What is the etymology? Yeah, etymology of word soccer. I still spelled that wrong. Etymology. I don't know. I spelled it wrong, but oh, it is England. So why doesn't England call it soccer? Don't they still call it football? Oh, it's etymology. Oh, there's no N. Oh, and it's a Y. Okay, no N, and it's a Y, not an I. To codify rules for what became known as association football to distinguish it from rugby. Oh, you must have just typed this in. You just typed in the same question. At elite universities like Oxford, students had a habit of adding to nicknames. Rugger, association football, a soccer. Huh, really? Yeah. Led to the term soccer becoming a casual nickname for association football among upper-class Brits. While Brits coined the term, they largely abandoned it, whereas Americans, Canadians, Australians, and others kept it. Well, Australians, well, they have rugby, which is rugby football, but they just call it rugby. Well, it says association football was coming from the Asok, which became a soccer. And that's how it existed. The British came up with it. I don't know how they ended up with that. Why don't they call it a soak footballer? And rugger? Really? Is that what they're called? Rugger? So rugby players are called ruggers? Or at least they were? I don't know. That's weird. Huh. Is there a U in color in British? In Brit? Colour. Yeah, it's funny. The word color in Spanish is spelled exactly the same way. It's just pronounced different. It's color. It's color, which is spelled exactly the same way. It's just they have to give their Spanish Mexican accent to the word color. Azul es un color. I don't know Spanish very well, but I do know some Spanish. I took 6 years of it in high school. Well, junior high and high school. You'd think I'd remember. And I also did a year of Duolingo Spanish. I got all the way up to the diamond level. Woohoo! But then I stopped and probably forgot most of what I did. Well, I mean, you are polo, you're trying to knock a ball through a net, right? So, except in the water, you can't use horses. So you throw it. Can you? Yeah, but you can't really. You can. I don't know. I don't know the rules on water polo. Water. They should call it water football if they're going to do that because soccer people would go nuts if they knew we were playing a game of soccer with our hands, even if it's in the water. They'd be like, no, you can't have a game of soccer with your hands. Totally opposite the rules. But I think the problem is it's like a lot of games because it limits a lot of what you can do, right? You're in the water. So the primary objective is because isn't polo use a stick to knock a ball through a net? So in this case, your stick is your hand and you're trying to knock it. I guess you're right in the sense that if you were really doing polo, you wouldn't be allowed to grab the ball. You'd be smacking the ball. You'd be like, it would only be allowed to be hit, and you'd be using your hand as a stick. You'd swim to it, whack, pass it to your other teammates by kicking it. But then that'd be like soccer, but you're using your hands. So you call it polo because it's more like polo, which uses your hands. Because you have to use your hands in polo, right? Even though you're holding a stick, and that's only because you can't reach down and hit the ball with your hand. What's the other? There's another game where people are on. In high school, it's gotten pretty popular that you use the. What's you use a stick? What is it called? Is it where I feel like where they have to wear like a face mask because they use it's a wooden ball. But what is that game called? I want to say like lawn polo or something. Lacrosse. Is that the one? Is that the one I'm thinking of? Yeah, I guess that probably is it. But that one is kind of like, isn't that kind of like water polo? Or I'm sorry, like polo without horses? Oh no, because polo still just hits the ball. Lacrosse, yeah, that's true. You're picking it up and throwing it. So water polo is probably closer to water lacrosse because you pick it up and you throw it. Except you don't use a stick, but that's kind of the same thing, right? You pick it up and you're throwing it to a net. They should call it water lacrosse. I think that's the closest match. Pick up ball, throw it through a net. except you just don't use a stick. Yeah, that's true. Is it? You're right. It might actually be like a. You're right. It's not an actual. It's not just a net. It's actually like a basketball hoop or a basket or something, isn't it? All right. Let's see. Well, maybe it is. Oh, it is a net. It's just a tiny little net. Assuming the net here is the goal, and that's just a rebound, so you can practice. Well, I totally went off the rails, didn't I? I do this sometimes. Oh no, it actually has a. Are you supposed to try to are you supposed to try to get it into this net around this thing? Are you like aiming for these little holes? Okay, that is weird. Water hockey. Yeah, it's kind of like hockey too. But hockey again is you don't grab the thing. That's why I was just trying to think what's like it. You have to they can grab it and even swim with it, right? So they're carrying the thing. And that's kind of what lacrosse is. You grab the ball and you run and you're trying to pass it to each other, but you're allowed to move and carry the ball. That's why I kind of thought that was the closest match. Cuz because all those other sports, you're, with the exception of football, you're not allowed to actually carry the ball. It could be basketball, but you're not dribbling. And even that, basketball doesn't let you carry the ball either. Really, most sports don't let you carry the ball when you really think about it, except for football and rugby. But you don't usually just throw the ball into the end zone. You have to have somebody there. Yeah, it's that's true. And then in the women's basketball, they allow personal fouls on a regular basis with no penalty. Oh, you knocked that person down. That was kind of blatant. Yeah, we'll let them shoot a couple times. Oh, you knocked them down twice. Well, they still get at least 2 shots. It's like, in the NFL, you take a blindsided shot on somebody between plays, whoosh, you're out of there, man. They ain't gonna put up with that crap. You run up on somebody from behind and nail them and knock them to the ground, you're out of the game. You're done. That's the end of you for the. You may even not get a play for a couple of weeks if you make a habit of that nonsense. But nope, not a women's basketball. You can run up behind people and slam them to the floor, and they'll get to take a couple of shots and maybe whatever. That's stupid. Women basketball refs are the worst. I don't watch much. I don't watch it very often, but I see the highlights, and all I know is there's a lot of really bad sports in women's professional basketball. They don't, they don't like people showing them up. Some rookie comes into the league and starts showing them all up. They all get a big attitude and start knocking her around because they know the rest won't do anything. We're gonna show you what it's like to play with the big leagues, little girl. We're gonna slam you into the floor a few times and see if you've got what it takes to keep going. I think the women basketball players are dirtier players. they just they just seem to be. It's like guys can get rough and get kind of mad sometimes if things go wrong, but I don't feel like. just think there's something about the women's basketball. It's kind of like watching hockey, you know. Yeah, it's you know, you go to the game and a fight breaks out, kind of thing. It's like you're expecting the fights because women are just mean, and they don't like being shown up by rookies. Yeah, like you said, it's like, especially if you're a good rookie, look out, man. If you're a mediocre average rookie, okay, they're probably gonna let you fine because you're no threat to them. But if you come in and start looking good, I don't know. Did LeBron James go through that when he went into the league? He came in as what, a high schooler, right? He didn't even go to college or something. Came in and just made everybody look bad. He was just right out the gate. And but were people just like knocking him around? No, because they would have been thrown out of the game. You can't just knock a guy around. You just can't do it. Now, granted, the damage a guy can do to another guy by blindsiding him is probably a lot more severe because sheer muscle mass and impact. But still, you know, these women are athletes. You just can't be hitting people from behind, blindsiding them. That's just, I say that's nonsense, man. Yeah. No, Caitlyn is the prime example, man. They are just mean. And she's a good sport. I mean, really, she does get mad, but who wouldn't? But I'm just saying, she doesn't like start cussing up a storm. She doesn't go nuts. Heck, half the time she just gets up and walks away. And then she just makes them look bad the next time she gets the ball. And I think the fact that she doesn't come back at him is what really irritates them. They can't get her cockles up. She just turns around and makes them look bad anyway. And I think that's great. I think that's awesome. That reminds me of Barry Sanders from the NFL, from when he used to play. He was just a guy who kept his mouth shut. He didn't talk. He just did the job. Went out there and just made everybody look bad. And everybody else did the talking. And those are rare people who can be great and humble and, just do the job in sports. Those are rare. That's a rare bunch of people. I say bunch. It's a rare few people. All right, so let's see. What time is it? 6:30. Oh, that's I'm letting this day get away from me. Shame on me. That's all right. I do that sometimes. I haven't streamed in 2.5 weeks because of my vacation. So I got a decent amount done actually while I was on vacation. But I got to get caught up on my streaming. I do need to. This week I will get done a couple of key things, and then I will start moving on to the next big thing here. Because once I need to get more stats in, because where's this at? Wrong thing. Get offensive skills. There we go. I am going to go back here. Close these. All right. So, what is your current project? You said you were working on something. What are you working on now? So I'm breaking the number one rule of game development for new game devs. If you go look at YouTube and you start watching all the videos of people saying how to become a game dev, what the steps. The number one rule, don't start big. They all say, oh, just create little things. Create a game in 30 days. Just finish something. And my brain immediately goes, what a waste of time. Because those games are crap. When people create games that only take them a month, those games aren't making any money. They might be kind of cool. They're kind of fun to dink with, but you're not going to sell that game. You're not going to put it on Steam and suddenly become millionaire. Okay, not to say you could spend 4 years on a game and put it on Steam and you still don't become a millionaire, but I get it. If you're new to developing in general, you've got to start small. You got to have something to prove that you can finish something and you can stretch that out. It's kind of like learning to run a marathon. Okay, you don't just go run a marathon. You don't just go do 26 miles, even if it's on walking. You don't do that. You got to start small. Go do a mile run. Hey, I did a mile. Woohoo! Let's go do a 2-mile run. All right, let's work my way up to. You work your way up. But if you've already run a marathon, and even though it's not a game, in my case, I've developed apps from the ground up, and it took me, a long time to do it. Over a year and a half, and I did years of support on an app where I developed it and I created everything about it. So I've done all this stuff. I've done the small and the big and done all that. So getting into a game, I've never developed a game, but I don't need to start small because I know about developing a big app. I don't know what the consummate API in Go. So is consummate are you using it like the ultimate API in Go? Is that what you mean? Like the greatest API in Go? Or is consummate some kind of a brand? I would imagine you're talking about like the ultimate API in Go. But what is the API for then? If you're writing it in Go, okay, so it is a capital C. Okay, that's what I was wondering. Because consummate means, like the ultimate, the best. But with a capital C, it becomes a tool, an app, a name. Okay. Scrapes data from various websites and provides APIs for accessing the data. Interesting. So you're writing it in Go. And so the original version, I gather, is written in JavaScript. So why don't you like JavaScript? JavaScript's not so bad. I mean, for tools, I don't think JavaScript's that bad for tools. But I don't know. I mean, I'm creating an entire app. My React application is all JavaScript. I mean, it's React.js, which is built on JavaScript. Technically, it's not JavaScript, I guess. But yeah, I think Go reminds me more of C Sharp. I mean, it's not. The syntax is different, but it's more. I forgot what they call. There's a terminology for that type of language versus like JavaScript languages. All right, there's web languages like Vue, React. What's the one that starts with an A? But Angular. That's right. It's Angular, and there's a bunch of others probably. And then there's all of the tools, Next.js and whatever that you can put in there that go along with all those. Yeah, Angular is the TypeScript version of React, and that's why I don't like Angular. Angular is well, now one of them is Google and one of them is Facebook. I think Angular is Google and Facebook created React. One of the Meta, whatever. I think one of those is those are the two companies that back those two languages. And Angular is older, but Angular is weird. It's just too much. Ugh, I don't like it. What I don't like about Python When I didn't even finish what I was saying about Python. I took a beginner class in Python, which was, like I said, a mistake because they went into the basics of coding. What are variables? What are loop structures? What are blah, blah, blah. I know all that crap. I didn't need that. I just wanted to know what the syntax differences between Python and languages I knew were, like C#. And I got turned off to Python real fast when I realized Python uses tabs as part of the language. And I was like, you are freaking kidding me. So you're trying to find a bug, and the problem is because you did not indent a line at far enough or at the right point. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. Nope, I'm done with Python. I said, all right, I have an idea what Python does. And I mean, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Use brackets, man. Maybe that's why they did, like you said, they came up with that different version because somebody thought tabs are stupid. Just use the brackets. And so that's why they came up with the other version. Yeah, Python. They probably did that specifically because tabs are stupid. I mean, it should not be part of your language. It's hard. You know what? Case sensitivity is already a pet peeve of mine. The fact that languages use case to differentiate. You should. My feeling is, you create a variable or a word, you create it once. So why you should not be creating two versions of the same word. It just gets too confusing. I hate case sensitivity. It should not exist. Whoever's bright idea that was, I wish I could go up and smack them upside the head. You dummy. You just made our life so hard creating case sensitivity. Yes, I understand it looks better to have everything case consistent. And I understand creating programming philosophies that identify things with case sensitivity, but it should not be allowed to create two variables with different case that mean two different things. It just should not exist. Case and Go, yes, Go is a big offender with case sensitivity. In fact, in my app here, there are things that require totally different case. Go requires, in a lot of places, that your case is Pascal case, or no, camel case. Well, actually, no. There are Go uses a lot of Pascal case and camel case. Mongo database uses a lot of camel case and camel case and lowercase. There's things that are both. And then you have to use, or you don't have to, but generally you will use Proto. When you're using Go, especially with services, you're going to use Proto tools. And they use camel case only, or snake case. Snake case is another creation of demons. Why would you create a naming convention that requires you to type underscores? Why? I mean, yes, okay, I know why. It does differentiate your words nicely. But snake case, you like snake case? Oh, I'm blocking you. Just a minute, I'm going to block you here. No, come on. You can't. No, snake case is, oh God. No. Snake case is terrible. I'm sorry. I don't like underscores. I don't like being forced to type on the top row. Especially any of the shift required things. Okay, so if you're required to type two keys to put a letter down, I mean, letters are fine, but when you have to do special characters, with an underscore, I just, ugh. Well, see, that's just going to confuse the issue. Um, Go, if you, because Go doesn't use the underscore for blanks, right? So if you have a variable you're returning and you're not going to use, you use an underscore in Go. So if it returns two variables and you only want one of them, you only put the variable name for the one you want. But if you're also using snake case, what that's going to do, or what that would do, Go doesn't use snake case usually, because it uses camel case or sometimes Pascal case. I like Pascal case because it's consistent. All first letters of words get to be capital. That's why I like Pascal case. I don't understand why the first letter has to be lowercase. Why did they come up with camel case? Whose idea was that the first letter is going to be lower? I don't know why. I think that comes from the fact that you used to use naming conventions, used to have the first part of a variable would identify what it is. Like it would be a lowercase s for a string, or an I for an integer, or if you're doing a database, it might be TBL for a table, or a view, or a query, or whatever. You would put a lowercase prefix identifying the type of object it was. And I think that's where camel case came from. And then all your words after would identify the variable. So those would all be uppercase first words. But over time, the naming conventions got rid of the prefix that identifies the type, because it became, nobody did that anymore. They just said, we're not putting that on anymore. I was still doing it up until a few years ago, where I would still put the type in. But because of things like, what do you call it? The advent of IntelliSense and all that, people just stopped needing a prefix that identified what type it was. So then they started doing the first word, whatever the first word was lowercase, because that's what everybody was using. They were all using the naming convention that was lowercase first letter and then uppercase the rest of it. But it's no longer. It should have went out the door with the removal of the type identifying. That should have just been gone. And then we should just be using, if you're going to do that, go with a Pascal case, which is basically just capitalized first letter of each word. But Go, in its infinite wisdom, decided, hey, let's use that as our scope identification. So now your functions, if it's lowercase, their scope is I think the current, I think it's the current application, or it might even be the current file. I think it's the current application, but you won't be able to see it from outside of the application. Like you won't be able to call it from another service or anything, because it's basically supposed to be local. And then if you use capital, actually, that might be wrong. I think it might actually only be in the file, but either way, it's a small scope versus a capitalized first letter is a big scope, readable through other files. And I got to hating. I don't like that, because they're actually using the case to identify your scope, and that took me a while to get used to. Yeah, you have to create kind of funky things for Go's enums. Yeah, I get that. I don't know about the generics thing, because I just started in Go, and they had generics when I was doing it. And by the time I realized what a generic was in Go, I mean, I know what it is in other languages, with the vars and whatever, but in Go, I didn't know how it was being identified or passed in variables or in functions. It took me a month or two of going, oh, that's what that is. that's how they're doing generics. But it's always been there as long as I've been doing Go. So Got to. So I all right. So I'm part of. I have the Taco Bell app on my phone, and every Tuesday they do a Tuesday drop, and you can get like a. They'll put this food item that's usually $5, $6, $7. I have a Taco Bell that's literally a mile from my house, and so I joined the thing, and so every Tuesday I try to get on there. But you have to be on like the minute they do it, like on 2 o'clock on Tuesday. So I have an alarm at 1 minute to 2, where I have to open the app, be ready, and when it comes on, I click the. I have to be ready to click the claim reward, and then you can go pick it up anytime during the day. But you got to be ready because the 30,000 people that are allowed to do it are nationwide. So you're basically waiting that second to click it. So with 30,000 people, not so bad because they vary. It's some of 20 to 50,000 people. But sometimes they'll give away something extra nice. One during the college bowl season, they had a national championships thing for the people who did it. 5 people got tickets to see the national championships. 5 people across the country. You have zero chance of getting that. I mean, your odds of getting that are probably less than the lotto because you're 5 people. It's usually gone. I mean, their 30,000 are usually gone within a couple of minutes right now. And so a 5, I'm lucky if I have the page loaded fast enough to hit claim by the time that's gone. You know, I may not even have my page loaded that quickly. And I could be waiting on ready to click. I ain't getting a 5. Luckily, I don't care most of the time. They're giving away junk like Taco Bell t-shirt. What am I going to do with that? You know, I don't care about that crap. But, or they'll give away some weird, bizarre thing. Music by Joe Blow something group that nobody knows. Free from Taco Bell for the first 1,000 people. I'm like, what am I going to do with that? Yeah, they've had some good things. You know their chicken things. Their chicken nuggets, chicken bites, or whatever they call them. Those are actually really good. I am impressed by how good those are. Because they're better than McDonald's chicken nuggets, which aren't that great. They look like Costco nuggets. They're just different. But the ones at Taco Bell are really good. They're they have real chicken in them. They're nice and beefy and they're solid, as long as they don't overcook them, which they've done a couple of times. But generally, they're really good. But anyway, I'm going to go sit down. I'm going to take a break. I will be back. I usually come back around 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I'll work for another hour, hour and a half, which is 2 hours from now. But I may not see you, but if I see you next time, Chun, is it Chun or Chen? I don't know how you pronounce that. But hey, man, thanks for stopping by and talking with me. And yeah, maybe I'll see you again in the future. Hopefully you're willing to follow, and if you haven't already, subscribe, whatever it is that we do on Twitch. But take it easy, man.